Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial you're going to be learning how to make this corset top with a basque waistline. We are going to have to start by drafting out the pattern, and to do this you're going to consider how deep you want your neck. Okay, so in this case we are going to be cutting this as an off shoulder. So I want the deepness of my neck to fall in between 6 inches and 5.5 inches. So I went ahead to remove 5 inches and then marked out my bust point, which is 10 inches, under bust 14, waist 18, and the length of my top 24 inches. Now I'm going to go ahead and square up my lines, but then this 24 inches I'm going to still extend it because that won't be enough for my basque waistline, because I want my basque waistline to be a little bit below my hip. All right, so what I'm going to do again is to divide my shoulder into two and mark it out, and from there I'm going to remove 5 inches and then mark out 8 inches, which is going to be serving as my chest line, and from there mark out all your lines. So I have the chest line, bust point, and then down to the length. From there, next is to input my bust circumference divided by 4 on the chest line and the bust point, and to the under bust point divide your round under bust by 4, input that. Then to your waistline divide your round waist circumference by 4 and then input that, and that is where we are going to be ending our measurement for that. We are going to still come to the length, all right, because it's going to be a basque waistline. So once you are done with that, divide your nipple to nipple by 4. So my nipple to nipple is 8 inches, and I went ahead to insert that from the starting line down to the length of my top. So after you are done with this, on the under bust point you are going to go in and out by 1 inch. Do the same for the waistline and then extend it to the length of the top. So once you are done doing that, use your straight ruler and connect the lines. After you connect the lines, you are going to have to use your curve ruler and connect from the bust point into the dart leg. Okay, or you can as well come down by 1 inch. That is if you want to create a little bit of space around the bust area. Okay, but for me I went ahead to connect into the bust point directly. So the next step you are going to take is to measure what you have in between your bust point and your under bust point, and that will serve as your bust radius. Go ahead and mark it all around, as you can see me doing like this. So mine is usually 4 inches and then I marked that out. Now from the bust point you are going to go up by 1 inch, and then from the center front you are going to come in by half an inch. Do that to the under bust point as well, and then go ahead and connect these lines using your long ruler. So after you are done with this, the next thing we are going to do is to tighten our over bust, which is the chest line. Okay, so right on that broken line you are going to take out 1 inch from both sides. Okay, and to get this you are going to note what you took out for your under bust tightening. Okay, what you took out for the dart, you're going to note that, plus 0.25 inch, just to avoid any form of gaping. So what I have there in total is 1.25 on both sides, which is 2.5 inches, okay, in total. I believe you understood me. So I went ahead to use my curve ruler and connect this into the bust points. Now after that, from the chest line, you're going to come down by 1/2 inch, okay, and that is going to be our new armhole line. So now the next you're going to do is from the dart leg of the center front, that is the overbust, you're going to connect your neck line into the 1/2 inch, and then from the dart leg of the side front, you're going to connect into the new armhole line, okay. And you guys, you can see that our cups are coming to shape. And right or from the under bust, you're going to connect that into the bust point as well, okay. And going over to the side front, you're going to connect the under busts into the new armhole line, okay. Just follow my steps that I'm taking right now, and your curves are going to come out perfectly well, okay. So this is our curves. We are done with that. The next thing we are going to do is to measure the dart that we took out from the upper chest. So that was 2.5 inches. Go ahead and replace it back on the new armhole line, and then input your 2 inches for stitching allowance. So once I was done with that, I went ahead to repeat the same thing to the under bust point. So right on the under bust point, I removed 2 inches for my dart. I went ahead to replace it plus my 2 inches for stitching allowance. I repeated the same for the waist, okay. I replaced my dart for the waist and input 2 inches for stitching allowance. Now it's time for us to work on our basque waistline. So to do that, from the waistline, you're going to come down by 2 inches, and then you go ahead and square out the line. So you can see the way I connected the line. Go on and just do yours just that way. And now remember, I told you that I'm going to extend the length of my blouse. So I'm going to go ahead and extend the length of my blouse to 28 inches, meaning that from the length I had previously, which was 24 inches, I went down by 4 inches, and then I connected my line and extended the dart. So now moving ahead, I'm going to go ahead and cut out my darts. And but then let me explain something to you. If you want your basque waist to be very shallow, meaning that it's not going to be too deep, you can leave the length on 24 inches, okay. So right now I'm going ahead to cut out the pattern and also the darts. So I would cut out the darts, and after cutting out the darts, I'm going to overlap the center fronts on the side fronts. And once I'm done overlapping these, I'm going to go on and remove 2 inches for my stitching allowance right on the 2 inches that I extended downwards, and from that 2 inches mark I'm going to use my curve ruler and connect into the length of my top. Okay, so now you can see that our basque waistline is right here, and we are going to have to cut it out. So go ahead and cut this out, and once you are done cutting out the shape of the basque, you are going to go ahead and cut out the remaining part of the cup which you haven't cut out. So but before that, make sure to label your cups because this can be very confusing. So I'm going to go ahead and label this. So I have the center front of my cup and the side cup, just in case I want to cut this on fabric, I won't get myself confused. So cutting this out, and once you are done cutting this out, you're going to bring in a fresh pattern paper and we work on the back bodice. Okay, now for the back, my back is not going to be having a zipper. I'm going to be making use of a loop. Okay, meaning that I'm going to be creating a channel for the loop right at the center back. So I'm going to go ahead and remove 5 inches just like I did on the front pattern, and then mark my bust points and the waist points and then my sewing allowance. Okay, that is the hemming allowance, and I'm going ahead to square up these lines. And once you are done with that, go ahead and divide your shoulder into two. So my shoulder is 15 inches, I divided by 2 and I have 7.5 inches. And now from there, remove 5 inches and mark 8 inches, which you got from your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5, and that is going to serve as the chest line just like you did on the front. So once you are done with that, go ahead and divide your bust circumference by 4 and input that on the chest line and the bust point, and then divide your waist circumference by 4 and mark that on the waist line, and then you square up your line. After you are done with that, divide your nipple to nipple measurement as well by 4. So mine was 8 inches and I divided by 4, and from the center front I extended my tape to 4 inches, and then after that connect your lines, and right on the waistline you're going to have to come in and out by half an inch, which is going to be serving as our dart intake for the back. And from the chest line you're going to have to come down by 1 inch, or from the bust point go up by 1 inch as well, and then connect your dart legs. But here you can see that I went up from the bust point. Okay, so once you are done with that, you're going to have to place your dart, which is the 1 inch, and then input our stitching allowance. Now after marking these shapes, after inputting our shape, you're going to notice that the back shape is kind of funny, but you guys don't worry about this, because once you hold in your dart on the waist, is going to come back to normal. Okay, so the next thing you are going to work on is to determine the deepness of your neck, of the neck of the back. All right, so I came up from the bust point by 1 inch, and then from the chest line I'm going to go down by half an inch, which is going to be serving as the new back armhole. And from there I'm going to connect into the neckline. All right, and you guys, we are done with the drafting of the back pattern. You're going to go ahead and use your scissors and cut out the pattern. All right, now let me explain something about this dart. If you wish, you can actually not cut out your darts. You can sew in just that way on fabric. All you have to do is to trace the dart right on your fabric and hold it down. But for me, I went ahead to cut it out, meaning that once I want to cut on fabric, I'm going to input half an inch around the dart area. All right, so I believe you understood me, and I am done right now. I'm going to label my pattern. So I have the center back and the side back. All right, so you guys, we are done. This is our front and our back bodies. Okay, so I'm going to be making use of these beautiful Ankara prints to cut out my pattern, but then you're going to be seeing more of these on the sewing parts. All right, so you guys are also going to be needing a ready-made bra cup for the sewing part. So get yours. You can see mine, I've shaped it out because I didn't find my actual measurements in the market. I also went ahead to cut on my actual fabric and lining, and this is what you should expect after we made the sewing part. So please turn on your notification bell and stay tuned. Bye.